My name is Andrea Young, and I am a vegan chef and the founder of Sweet Vegan. And tonight, we're going to be having a live demo and an interactive cooking class featuring my Blueberry Bliss chocolates. So, thank you for joining me. And since this is an introductory class, we're going to be covering lots of ground in many subjects. And you can follow along with your recipe. And if you don't happen to have your recipe, then go ahead and email me, and I'm happy to send out a copy for you to have as well. So a couple of thank yous. The first goes to Olivia Grand Prix for the warm welcome and, of course, making me feel really right at home this evening. I love VegMichigan, their wonderful philosophy, their outreach, and of course, they're giving back to the community with a plant-based viewpoint. Thank you, thank you. Now, just as I'm standing in front of you, hopefully looking pretty good, behind the camera is my intern making that happen. And her name is Karen Dobracek. She is a high school senior and she attends Bronx Compass. And she is the recipient of my WIW internship program, which stands for Women Inspiring Women. So thank you so very much, Karen, this evening for being here and making me look good in front of this camera. So I think what I'd like to do is introduce the chocolates, the star of the show tonight. And this here is what we're going to be making. These are our chocolate truffles. You can see a coconut covered one and a red raspberry covered one, and our little hiding in the back, our blueberry covered chocolate. And underneath there is our ganache, which we're going to learn more about. And in the center of this chocolate is a beautiful blueberry covered in a tempered chocolate. So we're going to learn all of these things this evening. So let's first start with, what is a ganache? And a ganache is it's a French term, first of all. It's a rich, creamy chocolate filling made of chocolate and cream and used with confections, such as the filling of truffles, which is my expertise. I love to make chocolate truffles. But the great news is, tonight you can learn how to make a beautiful chocolate truffle that's totally plant-based. So come right into my kitchen, and I'm going to introduce you to our ingredients that are going to make that happen. So 4 simple little ingredients. First is our sea salt, and we only need 1/8 of a teaspoon of sea salt. So we're going to put that right in here. And then our coconut sugar, we use 2 teaspoons for this recipe. Our rice milk, which replaces, of course, the cream, 1/4 cup. And our last ingredient is our coconut oil, only 1/2 teaspoon coconut oil. Now we're going to stir this up. It's going from a white to sort of caramel color. And you want to blend it before you put it on the stove and heat it up, just so you can get all the ingredients mixed. And then, of course, our chocolate is going to come center stage. I'm going to show you what it looks like. This is 3/4 cup, and these are referred to as calais or coins. And this is a 70% dark chocolate. And I like to use this container from a company called OXO, O-X-O. I'm going to be giving you lots of little tidbits tonight on suggestions in the kitchen. It has wonderful measuring options of milliliters, cups, and ounces. It's great because it's flexible. You can put it right in your microwave or a water bath. So we're going to put it in the microwave now for just a minute and a half. And now let's go over to the stove. Now you don't want to leave the stove at this point. You want to sort of just keep it stirring. I'm going to tilt it so you can see the ingredients. You don't want it to come to a full boil because you don't want to lose any of the liquid ingredients. It's really important when you make a ganache to have a balance between liquid and solid. So you'll get little bubbles on the outside, and that'll be when it's nice and hot and ready to go. So now I have a quick question for you. Our first trivia question of the evening. Who consumes more chocolate? Is it men or women? So while you think about that, add your answer into the chat. I'll be checking these later. You can hear a little sizzle now with our liquid ingredients. It's heating up nicely. So if you guessed women, you would be totally correct. Actually, it's double. The consumption of chocolate for women is double that of men. So I hope you got that right. And I'm going to turn this down. It's perfect right now. And you can hear our little microwave in the background. So let's go over to our counter. And we're going to take out our chocolate. It's 3/4 of a cup in here. And I'm going to show you what it looks like so you can see. And the aroma in this kitchen, I hope you can smell it from where you are. It's so yummy. So we're going to put it right on our little hot pad and then add our liquid ingredients. And the next thing we'll do is just blend them nicely together. Doesn't take very long. You want to really dig in there. Make sure you get to the bottom of the container. And it's thickening up very nicely. Now I'm going to show you how beautiful this looks. And this is the consistency that you want to have. Okay, I'm just going to scrape the sides a little bit. And we're ready now to pour our ganache into our container and let it go into the fridge. So I like to use a container that has a lid, something that's long and low, and that you can basically just pour it into easily. And I just really like to start at one end and then just bring it all the way over to the other side and just scrape it really well. What's great about this recipe, all you have to do is just tilt the container, bring it all around. The goal is to just have a nice, even ganache. So when you make your little scoops, it'll be nice and consistent. And there you have it. So we'll just add our lid. And this could go in the refrigerator for about 3 hours. So you could actually make this step in advance and then have it ready for you when you want to assemble everything a little bit later in the day. So the next step is some of our prep, and that's when our blueberries come in. So I like to use organic fruit. So these are all been freshly washed and easy to make. You could dry these yourself or just do them in the morning and let them air dry. And we'll put them off to the side. let's have some fun making our toppings. So you can choose a topping of your choice. I happen to love things with color that make really interesting displays. And I start with always my light one. This is my coconut. I like to use the brand Bob's Red Mill. It's a shredded coconut, and I prefer unsweetened. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. You can see this basically has the right size. It's not too big or too small. And then I also like this company, nuts.com, and they'll deliver right to your house. And they do all kinds of course, nuts and dried fruit. So this is my red raspberry, and this is my blueberry. So these have already been ground up. So I like to take mortar and pestle and then just mince it up. And they come unsweetened, but if you prefer a little sweeter, then you could add some coconut sugar at this time. And again, for the summer weather, you could choose a different topping you might want to try. They also have blackberries and strawberries as well that you can get. Then you can just and then you'll pour this right into our topping. So now we have our toppings ready to go. Let's get back to the star of the show, which is always our chocolate, right? So our next step is to discuss tempering. And what is tempering? People frequently will ask me, tempering, why do we need to temper our chocolate? Well, tempering is a process in which the crystals in the cocoa butter are rearranged in a very specific pattern, giving the chocolate a smooth and very shiny finish. So it's important to do tempering because we want it to look beautiful. It doesn't always affect the taste, but it certainly affects the look. So I'm going to show you the tempered chocolate successfully and less successful. And you can see the chocolate on your left looks shiny and beautiful and rich and lustrous, whereas the chocolate on the right has the streaking and blooming, which comes from the crystals in the chocolate separating. And it all has to do with the temperature that you set when you're doing your tempering process. And I'm going to show you that on the stove. But if I was to cut these open and have you try them right now, you would not necessarily know a difference in the taste. These chocolates were actually made at the very same time. It's not like one is old and one is fresh. It really has to do with the condition of the chocolate, the environmental conditions of your kitchen where you're making it, and sometimes just doggone good luck. So as a chocolatier, I've really experienced a lot of ups and downs with tempering. So I know all about that subject very well. And when they say chocolate making is part art and part science, this is definitely the science part. But the good news is, and I'm here to share with you, when we make our Blueberry Bliss chocolates, it's not critical that we get the tempering correct. This is more of a fun exercise, so you're going to learn how to do it. But we're going to be having our toppings on top that we just prepared, and those are going to be the star of the show. So let's take our half a cup of our chocolate, and let's go over to the stove now and do our water bath. So we're going to put this over here. I've already heated it up for us. You can see the steam coming off. We're going to add our chocolate. And I'm going to turn the fire on a little bit. And for the first part, there's really not much to do. You want to watch it and make sure it's starting to melt and make sure you have enough water in your little pan. But I happen to really like this brand. It's called Cuisinart for saucepans. It's got a nice little handle that's good for gripping and kind of helps with the heat. And now I'm going to share with you another trivia question. Are you ready for question number 2? We're getting a little more challenging with the questions. In what continent is the largest production of cacao? So what continent produces the most cacao? So if you would put your answer in the chat, and while you're doing that, you can see around the edge that the chocolate's beginning to melt nicely. And when it's fully melted, we'll start with our tempering thermometer. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. And we'll turn it on in a second. And we'll begin to check to see what temperature is at. And this particular chocolate, it's required to bring it up to 114 degrees to break down the crystals in the cocoa butter. Okay, do you have an answer for me? So the question again, what continent produces the most cacao? And the answer, if you guessed South America, you would be totally incorrect. It is not South America. If you share the answer of Africa, you would be absolutely correct. The answer is Africa. Now, we've got our geography question coming up. What are the countries in Africa that are the largest producers of cacao? Okay, do you have an answer for me? Now we're going to check with our thermometer to see where we're at with tempering. Okay, we're getting there, but not quite yet. Okay, I'm going to share the answer with you. The number 1 country in Africa for cacao production is Ivory Coast. Number 2 is beautiful Ghana. Number 3 is not in Africa. So that's going to be our bonus question coming up. Number 4 is Nigeria. And number 5 is Cameroon. So how many did you get right? So, of course, our bonus question, what is the 3rd country on our list? Okay, we are very close. So our 3rd country is Indonesia. Beautiful Indonesia. Isn't that amazing that a country as small as Indonesia is the world's 3rd largest producer of cacao? But it certainly is. And now a little tidbit that I'll share with you. When you would try a chocolate that would come from, a pure chocolate that would come from Indonesia, as compared to Ivory Coast, there is quite a bit of difference in the flavor. They're both certainly chocolate, and they can both have the same percentage of cacao, but due to the fact that the soil conditions are different, the rainfall might be different, and when the season is, it can all affect the flavor of the chocolate. So here to share with you as a chocolatier, it's a wonderful experience to travel the world and taste different chocolates because they're all slightly different, but all equally delicious. So our chocolate right now is perfect. It is exactly where it needs to be. We're going to take it off the burner and we're going to start the next step, which is where we have to bring the temperature down to our tempering zone. So we're going to bring it right over to the countertop. The aroma is just heavenly. So our next step is to bring our temperature down. You can sort of see how hot this is right now. We're going to take a 1/4 cup of what's known as our seed chocolate, which will enable the chocolate to really come down in temperature pretty quick. So the key here is to keep the chocolate moving. You definitely want all the coins or the Cacao to all melt, but you also want to aerate it so that the cool air will bring the temperature down. Now I have a question for you. This is multiple choice, and the question is, how many people worldwide consume chocolate on a daily basis? Is it A, 1,000 people, B, 100,000 people, C, 1 million people, or D, 1 billion people daily consume chocolate? And while you're thinking about that, let me just get my thermometer and check our temperature. Okay, we have a little bit further to go. We're just going to keep stirring it. So do you have an answer for me? Again, the question is, how many people worldwide consume chocolate on a daily basis? Is it A, 1,000, B, 100,000, C, 1 million, or D, 1 billion people daily? So if you guessed D, 1 billion people, you would be totally correct. In fact, it seems like a large number, but chocolate is one of the most favorite gifts to give and to receive. So you're in good company tonight learning to make these vegan chocolates so that you can gift people and also gift yourself and receive them. They're going to be so delicious. Okay, let's check our temperature. And while I'm doing this, I have another trivia question for you. How many cacao beans are in 1 pound of chocolate? Is it 400 beans, 600 beans, B, 800 beans, C, or 1,000 beans, D? So how many cacao beans in 1 pound of chocolate? We are almost there. And the answer to this question is A. It's 400 beans and 1 pound of chocolate. Okay, we're looking good here. So now what we're going to do is take our blueberries and put them in our tempered chocolate. And then put them off to the side to dry. So the first thing you'll want to do is make sure you have your setup. So the set really consists of, I like to use a cutting board, but you could certainly use just a regular plate. The most important thing is to get some parchment paper on it so your blueberries are not going to stick. And then I like to use a little spatula knife. And this is a fancy dipping fork, but you don't need something this fancy. You can use just a dinner fork. Now, we're going to take our blueberries and one by one, put them into our beautiful tempered chocolate. So, right in the center it goes. Then I'll tilt this so you can see. You want to really coat this totally. And then you'll grab it out. Little help from your knife. Tap, tap, tap the edge. And then we're going to bring it right over to the center of our parchment paper. Let's do another one. Here we go. Let's put it right next to its neighbor. And lastly, we'll do one more. This is so heavenly. The smell, the aroma of the chocolate when it's just melted, so delicious. And there you have it. Now at about 20 minutes, these will be dried. And if your tempering went well, you can trim everything. And this is what they would look like when they're trimmed. So these are all beautiful little blueberries that have been trimmed and ready for our ganache coating. So now let's get our ganache out of the refrigerator. Let's see how it's looking. Okay. Hey, do you see this up close? See the shine and how smooth it is? And this is just coming out of the fridge, so it's a little cold. And now what we're going to do is have some fun and put our ganache and our blueberries together. And to do that, I like to use like a little melon scoop. Of course, if you don't have a melon scoop, you could certainly just use a teaspoon. It would be about 1.5 teaspoons. And you can just scoop it up. But a melon scoop is not a bad investment. I'll tell you why. Because you can easily use it for your fruits in the summer when you want to have watermelon or cantaloupe or honeydew, any time of the year. So just right in the center of your hand. And then you're going to, with your other hand, just make a little ball together. And the key to it is you want to heat it up. You want the warmth from your hand just to soften it a little bit. And when it feels about right, you'll feel the warmth coming off. Take your right hand and just flatten it out into a little pancake. And then we'll add one of our blueberries, just like that. And we're going to now make our little blueberry sandwich. Chocolate blueberry sandwich. Sounds pretty yummy, huh? And there you have it. We're heating it back up again so that when you drop it into your topping, it will adhere nicely. So let's put this right into, and I always work with the light colors first. So with my 2 clean fingers, I'll roll it around a little bit and then just press it right into the coconut so it's nice and beautifully coated. There you go. And right there, we'll put it right as center stage. Let's do another one. And our next one, let's do red raspberry. So flattening it out now. Taking one of our blueberries. This is a fun little class to do with kids or a partner where you can each sort of have some fun together creating these chocolates. So in it goes. And then of course, our beautiful red raspberry flakes. You probably just want to shake it off just a little bit. Let's put it right next to our coconut. Now, our blueberry. And I'm sure you all understand why it's so important to be wearing gloves right now. For sanitation, of course, but just also to keep your kitchen nice and clean, because chocolate definitely can make a mess. Okay, now in the blueberry goes. And now you have a blueberry coated chocolate ganache. And there you have 3 of them. Now I have a question for you, our last trivia question for the evening. And this one is all about blueberries. And the question is, how many calories in 1 cup of blueberries? And while you're thinking about that, I'll give you multiple choice on this. A, 80 calories. B, 100 calories. C, 120 calories. Or D, 140 calories in 1 cup of beautiful blueberries. So while you're thinking about that answer, let me just clean up for a sec. Okay, so here we have our blueberries center stage. Do you have an answer for me? Well, if you guessed A, 80 calories, you would be totally correct. There are only 80 calories in 1 cup of blueberries. So they're a powerhouse of nutrition. They have fiber, they have your antioxidants, they're very filling, and now you can have them with your chocolate as well. And I forgot to mention that in 1 cup of blueberries, it contains over 25% of your daily requirements for vitamin C, which is something we all need a lot right now as we're in the winter months. So I think the most important thing at this point is to share with you how you can make your chocolates look beautiful, because we all know it's important to eat with our eyes. So I have some little displays over here I've put together. So this shows how you can add one of your chocolates in a cello and then just tie it with a very pretty ribbon. This is a nice little gift to give to somebody or a snack. And just always keep them refrigerated, because that's so important when you have fresh fruit. The other way we could do something as a display for an event or for a special occasion, like the holidays that are upon us, we have our Blueberry Bliss display. And with this, we're highlighting our gorgeous blueberries and, of course, 1 ring of our coconut-covered truffles, and then our gorgeous blueberry truffles and a red raspberry on the outer ring. Just a simple little doily, a cake plate, and have some fun putting together a design and sharing them with family, friends, and you too will love the result, because people will never believe these are all vegan. No animal products used at all. So I welcome you to increase your blueberries with making some of these for the holiday coming up.
We do have a bunch of questions so far. The first one is someone's just wondering why specifically you decided to become a chocolatier.
Oh, that's a great question. And the reason is, as a chef, and I did a lot of personal chef work, I could never find a chocolate that met all of the needs of my customers. Some of my customers had soy issues. Others were gluten sensitive. And of course, dairy, of course, is a big one for lots and lots of people. So I wanted to come up with a chocolate that met everyone's needs and still taste delicious. And that was the other thing. I could find some chocolates, but they just didn't hit the bill with having people really enjoy them and want more. So I took the sugar out and I used coconut sugar, and I really wanted to develop products that across the board, people that are health conscious, have diet limitations, or even for your kids, just making sure they're making a healthier choice would have some options. So for me, coming up with these flavors and testing them for over 18 months was just a dream come true. And now people are enjoying them all over the world. So thank you so much for that question.
Wonderful. I'm just trying to keep track of the rest of these. We had some general questions about the specific temperatures you were going to. What temperature do you take the chocolate to, and then what temperature do you cool the chocolate down to? And then additionally for the seed chocolate that you add, is that cooled or is that just room temperature?
Good questions, all of them. The temperature that you need to bring the chocolate to when you do a vegan chocolate is about 114 degrees, because in regular chocolate they use milk solids and it's a lower temperature. But because you don't have those things in a vegan chocolate, you need to raise the temperature. So it's right around 114. And then when you take it off the stove and you want to bring it down, the temper zone is about 88, 87 degrees. So, and the way you do that obviously is putting the seed chocolate in, and that's a good question. The seed chocolate is always room temperature.
Wonderful. Okay. Um, okay, let me see. So someone's asking, just as a vegan business focused on compassion, do you give back to the community in any way?
Oh, that's a great question. I certainly do, and especially with COVID, I think all small businesses have been suffering, and I certainly had to really reevaluate what Sweet Vegan's role would be in the next chapter as a company and how to give back. And I really decided that the people that needed my help the most were our first responders. So I did an outreach and asked people to nominate friends, family, loved ones, anyone that they knew that was a first responder and could use some extra love in the form of vegan chocolate. So I donated between the months of March and June about 1,000 pieces of chocolate, all hand wrapped by yours truly, and given to different hospitals throughout New York City and fire departments. And in the process, I got to meet so many amazing, amazing people, people that were the staff, people that were doctors, and they shared their stories with me. So I invite you to go to my website and check out my Instagram, because a lot of those stories are there and you can hear what people have shared and what's important to them and how they feel that they've been able to make a difference throughout COVID. And also, many people did donate snacks and treats. But I always think to myself, are those snacks and treats really the best for you? So by having a plant-based product and amazing chocolate, I was able to introduce and get into the hands a lot of people in the healthcare industry that maybe would not have selected a plant-based product to try. So that was one of my visions as well, to get Sweet Vegan in the hands of people that can make a difference and also share about health and nutrition to their family and connections. So an article was actually written about Sweet Vegan and our donation back to the community. So I don't know if you have that link, but certainly you're welcome to read more about it and also hear some of the videos and the stories about people that shared their hearts.
Okay, someone asked, does using a metal bowl affect the process at all compared to using a glass bowl?
No, it should not. That's a good question, but it shouldn't be a problem at all. I
Okay.
happen to like to use the glass bowl because you can see it. It's more of a visual.
Absolutely. That makes sense. Um, okay, someone said, how long do the blueberry chocolates last and do they have to be refrigerated? And someone just
They,
asked in general about the chocolates and if they should be refrigerated or kept at room temperature.
well, I would say the Blueberry Bliss chocolates should definitely be refrigerated, and they should be consumed within about 48 hours. But what my experience is, they never even last 48 hours because people really enjoy them. So when I make them for a crowd, they go really quickly. But I would say within about 2 days, they should be enjoyed.
Sounds good. Someone asked if you'd recommend purchasing a temperature gauge for cooking chocolate.
I would. I think the more little tools that you have in your kitchen, the more efficient you are and the more fun the process can be.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, someone's asking, what if you have an intolerance to coconut? Do you have a recommendation to swap out the coconut sugar?
Yes, I do. You could use, there's monk fruit, which is a good substitute. You might want to try out how much monk fruit you need to, use in comparison, but definitely you could use that.
Okay, and I think as of now, the last question we have is just out of all the chocolates you make, you talked about so many delicious flavors. Do you have a favorite?
Well, that's a good question. It's sort of like choosing your favorite child, right? Not a nice thing to do, but based on the mood that I'm in, I developed a lot of flavors during the summer. And I would say, really, my Winter Wonders subscription box by Pomegranate Power is probably my favorite. And then in my spring box, which I call Spring Fling, I love my Strawberry Sensation flavor. And then for summer, which is called Summer Splash box, I really love my Tangen, which is sort of a combination of three flavors. It has lime in it, and it has sea salt, and it has a little bit of a chili pepper. And then for fall, my flavors of fall, my favorite is probably pumpkin. Pumpkin passion is my favorite for fall. But I always think that it depends a little bit on your mood and what you're going through, because chocolate is so healing and so inviting that you can try many different flavors and enjoy them all.